The modern human's scientific name is Homo sapiens, or literally man the wise, and Homo sapiens lives on all the inhabited continents of the world. Here in Asia, in Oceania, whose largest country and the most populous one is Australia. In Europe, in Africa, in North America, and in Latin America, to some extent also in the polar regions, mostly the Arctic regions. Antarctica is the only continent which is still practically unsettled by humans, although there are various scientists who live a portion of each year, or shifting groups of scientists live portions of different years in the Antarctic. The modern humans have many different shades of skin color, all the way from profoundly black to very white. And their body builds range from very skinny to very obese. Although regarding the extremes of very skinny and very obese, they are mostly or more due to the individual's diets and possible family genes than with their ethnic, let alone racial origins. The smallest adult human populations measure under 5 feet, or 1.52 centimeters, and the tallest ones then measure some 7 feet, or 213 centimeters, or even more. The age of speciation of Homo sapiens out of ancestral Homo erectus, or an intermediate species such as Homo antecessor. These are once again the mainstream scientific findings, which are secular and which do not consider any kind of literal interpretation of the creation account in Genesis as being scientifically valid. Is estimated to have been roughly 350,000 years ago. Sustained archaic admixture is known to have taken place both in Africa and following the recent out-of-Africa expansion in Eurasia between about 100,000 and 30,000 years ago. The term anatomically modern humans is used to distinguish Homo sapiens having an anatomy consistent with the range of phenotypes seen in contemporary humans from varieties of extinct archaic humans, which is useful for times and regions where anatomically modern and archaic humans coexisted, such as Paleolithic Europe. So how do we differ from these alleged ancestors or relatives of us, including even the Neanderthal men and then Homo luzonensis? Well, on average, we are taller, although this does not apply to Homo erectus, because Homo erectus had an average height of up to 5 feet 10.5 inches, and only 17% of modern human males are taller than they were on average, or their males were on average. But for most other species, definitely we can say that, or compared to most other extinct hominids, we can say that we are on average taller, as adults especially. And then that our facial features, normally at least, are clearly distinct from those of monkeys, although within the modern human populations there's a great deal of difference in facial features already based on the individual body types. And they have to do with, for example, whether people are skinny or have have these body mass ratios of under or 20 kilograms per cubic meter, or then normally built between 20 and 25 kilograms per cubic meter, slightly overweight between 25 and 30 kilograms per cubic meter, or then obese over 30 kilograms per cubic meter. Because a significant number of overweight humans only have that major buildup of excess fat in the middle of their bodies, in their stomachs. They have relatively slender, or at least normal legs, and their faces too are relatively slender. And then there are humans who are obese all around their bodies. They have thick legs, thick bulging stomachs, and thick bloated faces as well. So how do we differ from these so-called ancestors or relatives of us? Well, we are, or at least seem to be, capable of clearly more sophisticated thought, religiously or spiritually, scientifically, socially, economically, politically, artistically, and capable of inventing many kinds of machines, while even the most advanced of our so-called ancestors or relatives were not capable of producing anything like we would call technological tools. They certainly did not know electricity, and certainly could not produce any tools even close to the level of sophistication of modern computers or cell phones, or even landline phones, let alone automobiles. They did know and they could build boats and primitive ships, but certainly not the kinds of steel ships which are now common and which are powered by diesel and so forth. They might have imagined that it would be wonderful to fly in the air like birds, but they had no known extant conceptions of an airplane. Leonardo da Vinci did have, in the late 16th and early 17th century, late 15th and early 16th centuries, some primitive conceptions of airplanes, but he was never able to build them. And then the great deal of linguistic variation that exists not just between languages, but even inside at least most existing human languages is a major difference. And then the sophistication in making clothes and then in wearing clothes is another major difference between us and other hominids. And then the burial of modern humans is normally more sophisticated than it was before they became the only existing hominids. And then even the most advanced other hominids could not write in anything like the modern sense. We can. And most of us learn it already as children. Obviously, then our handwriting evolves as we age, mature and then age. And then, well, for example, books, even the Neanderthal men or Homo luzonensis could not have imagined that it would be possible to write a book and then have it bound and to have it read, or to have an electronic book, which are now increasingly becoming common. So those are most of the major differences. Of course, warfare is now much deadlier and much more sophisticated than it was in the time of so-called cave humans. So let's look more at this Wikipedia article. And then our brain capacity is clearly bigger than those of most extinct hominids. Our brain size, however, was somewhat smaller than that of Neanderthal men. And we are able to eat a great variety of foods, especially if we have our teeth left. According to this Wikipedia article, contemporary national averages in terms of the human height range from 147 to 172 centimeters in females. So that would translate to roughly 4 feet 10 inches and slightly under 5 feet 8 inches in terms of the imperial measurements, and from 158 to 184 centimeters in males. So approximately 5 feet 2 inches and just over 6 feet in the imperial measurements for males. And then there has been a great deal of ethnic and racial mixture between the modern humans, modern human populations, so that we can confidently declare that there is no such thing as a pure race anymore. Even if we just had 6 racial categories, whites, blacks, yellow-skinned people, red-skinned people, brown-skinned people, and dark-skinned people. All of these so-called races are mixed. And then the number of truly isolated human populations is shrinking. There are still some in isolated parts of Southeastern Asia, I would suppose, in certain very isolated parts of Africa, and possibly still Latin America.